So we're going through a recession and the government decides to intervene. How long could we expect for that intervention to take before it has a positive effect on the economy? Let's take a look. So the first thing that we have to consider is the stimulus done through fiscal policy or monetary policy. And then when it comes to the lags involved, there's two different types of lags involved. There's the kind of like implementation lag to get this into place, and then the lag for it to have an impact on spending and consumption and whatnot. So if we think about monetary policy, that can be done relatively quick, the actual implementation of lowering interest rates. Why do we say it's quick? Well, imagine the Bank of Canada meets 8 times per year. So 8 times per year on average, it's every 6.5 weeks that they meet to make a decision on whether to keep interest rates the same, to increase or decrease them. So normally if you make an announcement, you're pretty happy with the current situation. So then you, at the very longest, you're going to have to wait 6.5 weeks before being able to alter your decision. Well, typically, if you've just made your decision, you're happy with it, well, it might take a few weeks, different things that happen in the economy for you to want to change rates again. And by the time that happens, there's probably just a few weeks or days left before that change can actually happen. So the implementation lag is very short. And in some instances, they could even call an earlier meeting if they have to reduce interest rates more rapidly. So in the pandemic or in like tariff discussions, they've had these moments between announcements that were actually shorter than 6.5 weeks. So very least 6.5 weeks, very most 6.5 weeks that they have to wait. And it could even be shorter because normally you're on the way when it happens. Whereas fiscal policy, if you're thinking about changes in government spending, changes in taxes, those things typically take time. There's a lot of steps for the government to decide to increase spending or to decrease taxes. It typically takes more time. There's some moments of the year, sometimes it could be quick, but generally speaking, it's a longer process. However, if the government introduces an increase in government spending and unlocks that money and starts spending it to build infrastructure, well, that impact on the economy is going to be very quick. That spending happens, and then there's ripple effects, multiplying effects of that happening. So once it's implemented, it has a quick impact on the economy because that spending happens right away. Same thing if you have tax cuts. Imagine it's sales tax cuts. Well, every time someone buys something, they have more money left because they pay less in taxes, so they could easily buy more and more products than they were before the taxes when they were higher. So that also has quick impacts on the economy once it's taken into place. But if you look back to monetary policy, drop in interest rate could be quick to do, but then how quick does that drop in interest rate actually translate to an increase in aggregate demand? It's slower. Like if you've been used to a 5% interest rate and now it's gone down to 3%, you're not necessarily going to run out and change cars just because interest rates are lower. You're going to think about it. You might wait for your previous car to reach a certain age before changing it. And same thing for buying a house. If you just moved into somewhere new, you won't change right away. There's certain things like that take time. And if you're a business who is debating building a new factory, well, changes in interest rate is one of the things that's going to have an influence on whether you want to build that extra factory. And even if you take it into account greatly, you don't make those decisions on day-to-day basis. It's not like buying an extra orange or an extra whatever at the grocery store. It's really about making this big purchase. So this kind of purchase is often in a very long planning process. So if interest rates go down now, while in discussions in the planning process, you might decide, okay, it'd be a good idea to move forward with this project, but it's going to take a certain time before you actually move forward with it. You're not just going to sign the contract with a contractor to build this big factory right away. Fiscal policy, slower to set up, quicker impact afterwards. Monetary policy, much quicker to set up, but slower afterwards. Good thing to know in terms of both policies to try to either stimulate or contract the economy. They have their advantages and disadvantages in terms of speed of execution. And same thing if we think, I'll just add one more thing for monetary policy. It can also have an impact on exchange. We've seen the exchange rate channel that when you drop interest rates, it leads to currency depreciation, which favors exports. Well, once again, that shift in trade, that shift in purchases takes time. So it's not as soon as currency changes value that everything changes. It takes a bit of time before you change who you buy from and whatnot. So different things to consider when you decide to stimulate the economy. Hope this was interesting. Catch you on the next one. If you found this video interesting, please consider subscribing or joining my class where I guide you to apply and expand on the information found in these videos to real-life examples. Have a good day.